Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Bullish on Business. I'm your guest, Rose Odette, and today I have a real pro with me on this podcast. So buckle up, you're going to love this. So today I'm thrilled to welcome Megan Alexander. Hi, Megan.
Hello.
Welcome aboard. Hey, she is the owner of Carter's Compost in Traverse City, Michigan. Now, Carter's is named after her son. So it's Carter's Compost. It is a local collection and composting service that makes it easy for residents and businesses, restaurants, also most very strategically with restaurants, I understand, which I think is amazing, to divert food scraps from landfills and return them to the soil as rich and living compost for gardens, yards, and community spaces. Megan brings a powerful blend. Listen to her background. She has a passion for sustainability. She's an entrepreneur and she has that drive. I've seen it in action myself. She's also got systems thinking, and that all works together, and she's blended really magically here. Before taking the helm over at and with Carter's Compost, she built a career in international sales, planning, and operations with companies like Kimberly Clark, Shinola, and 5 by 5, where she led strategic initiatives, improved processes, and supported global teams. She also is a Michigan State University graduate. Me too. Go Green.
Go white.
All right. With experience in supply chain management, international collaboration, and even yoga instruction, proof that she understands how to support both people, their bodies, and the planet. Today, we will talk about how Carter's Compost is helping reshape the relationship with waste, strengthening community resilience, and showing that local, practical climate action looks like what it looks like in real life. So, with that, welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm super excited.
Yes, we are too. I really want to hear all about it. Before we jump in, though, we always like to know who you are as a human and like what makes you tick. Before we jump into the passionate business at hand, tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about Megan.
Well, I am a Traverse City native, so I was raised in this community. Of course, they call us boomerangs, where we kind of go off, do some life things, and then of course boomerang right back. And I'm very fortunate that I have such a beautiful place to come back to and raise now my children. I have a 7-year-old and an almost 2-year-old,
Oh,
and yeah, just really immersing ourselves in the community here. I have a passion for sustainability, like you mentioned. I have a beautiful outdoor space, and we live in this agricultural mecca that I just want to preserve in all the ways possible, whether it's the land that we're planting things in or the water that we go swimming in. It all matters, and it's all something that we really love, and I want to keep it
when
that
I
way.
heard about Carter's Compost, I thought, wow, this is so creative because it's around everyone. And
Right.
I'm in a lot of communities and I have not heard of someone actually doing this. And I think this is, and it's so needed and it's so beneficial.
Yeah.
And I understand about the boomerang. I call it that I had a wanderlust because I did too. We
Yeah.
all feel like go away, but then we come back. And
Come back.
yeah, we do come back, and thank goodness that you did do that. So let's get into it. For listeners who are new to Carter's Compost, can you share the story of how the business began and what drew you personally into community composting?
Yes. So the beautiful thing about Carter's Compost, it was started actually by an 8-year-old boy named Carter, and that was about 14 years ago.
Oh, I thought it was your son.
Contrary to popular belief, it wasn't
Oh, my
my son.
bad. Scratch that. Sorry, everyone.
All good, all good. You're not the first, and you won't be the last one to say that. And that's an honor because he is an amazing human who started something quite awesome with his family, and really after the first, I kind of say he started when he was 8. So if you think about it, fast forward 10 years, he's turning 18 and he's ready to go do his wanderlusting in the world. And so he actually, they were posting on their Facebook, hey, looking for someone to take this over. It was, founded by kids. Lots of kids were involved. They were trying to find another lead. And I kept thinking to myself, like, how are they how are they still asking for someone to take this thing over? Like, it cannot go away. Someone has to
Right.
take this over.
Right.
And I've had this entrepreneurial mindset for many, many, many years. And I kind of joke, Rose, that over the years in my career, I've kind of like not demoted myself, but like I've taken rungs out of the ladder to get to the top, right? So I started in a Fortune 100 company, and then I moved to something like a startup with funding, and then I moved to something like a startup without funding. And then I said, "Hey, let's be a startup without funding." And so, but I've taken a lot of information and skills from all of those steps to say, okay, I don't need all the rungs in the ladder to reach the top. I'm ready to do it all and really immerse myself. And this opportunity arose. It hits so many levels with me in terms of what I believe in, and what I really want for our community, what I really want for our children, and it blends it with that entrepreneurial spirit that I've always had and just didn't know how to unleash. So brought the
I
two
love
together.
that. You bring in all the congruency. I can see how you bring it all together, and it's truly a message, and you're so resolute in that. I appreciate that
100%.
so much. And tying it in, I love the way you framed it too, with the metaphor of the rungs of a ladder. That really rings true. And so let's talk about what is the biggest misconception people have to your business?
Um, Besides the fact that Carter's not my son, it is that, I think there's a little bit of a misconception around composting in general, and that it's like this really like why are you playing with trash? And composting is exactly the opposite of that. It's not trash, it's a resource. These food scraps don't belong in a landfill. And so it's kind of this education opportunity to say this is the why of why we're doing this is, and then I'm providing the how, but and then solving the problem to say, okay, if we collectively stop throwing our banana peels in the trash can, then either you're processing in the backyard, I'm processing them as my business, but then collectively we're having an impact on our environment because those things aren't breaking down, turning into methane and going into the atmosphere. So, and in fact, we're creating something that can go back into our soil and nourish us. So I think it's really that full cycle thing that is lost. It's a big concept, and it's not something that we all grew up with. So being able to just talk to people about that and engage them is is a big opportunity for me. Why do
Well,
this?
my uncle and aunt were they're older. They were My uncle was born in like 1910, but we and I can't it's something around that with my aunt. So they were older, and they had a place out in the woods, and they I grew up there in the summer times and on weekends, and they actually built a special place, and they would put the compost in it. So I did grow up, and it was foreign because we didn't have one at our place, but they
Right.
had one, and they also had a pond. And so we had to be really careful about what we put in the compost versus putting it in the trash, because you had to put things that would actually be more like food stuff.
Right.
And what we would do is, when we wanted to go fishing, we would go to the compost and get the
Find
worm,
all the worms.
and then
Yes.
we could and then we and the worms were always fresh and always there. And
Yeah.
we had a trout pond, and so it was like routine. We'd go to after dinner, we'd throw all the trash or the compost in there. And
Yep.
but if I had not had that experience, Megan, when you
Right.
said the word compost, it really brought back, because this is many years ago, and it was like, oh yeah, I remember that. But I bet a lot of people don't even understand the term compost in these days.
You're not wrong. I think that it's kind of like this term that because we're not embodying it, it just isn't like ingrained in what we're doing every day. And
Mhm.
if you have past experience, then you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to tap into that. I get that. But even if you don't have that past experience, you're right. It's kind of like, okay,
Yeah.
again, why? Why would
Right.
I
Well,
why
even
wouldn't I
as a
throw my
child, when I first was introduced to it, I was it took me a minute to get it.
right,
And it was but once I got it, I thought it
right.
was so great because it was so natural and it was
Yep,
very cool. So how does the service actually work for a typical household or a small business from the bucket to the finish? How do you can you take us through that whole process? Let's do a
yep,
person's home first,
yes.
okay?
So let's say you live in downtown Traverse City and you're like, oh, I've learned about this thing that I shouldn't throw I always use the banana peel because that's our logo. I shouldn't throw my banana peel into the trash. So on our website, you'd be able to sign up for a subscription service. It's much like another utility, like your trash or recycling. You're going to get a bucket from me. It's a 5 gallon bucket and a top, and we come by every week or every other week, and we collect the food scraps curbside. So you would just leave your bucket out every Wednesday. I'd come by every Wednesday, give you a fresh new bucket that you'd start to fill again with all of your kitchen prep and stale cereal and uneaten leftovers, and and I would bring it back to my sites and compost it. And that kind of takes different forms. Composting, one of the joys of it is that it it can take place in so many different types of atmospheres. Like it isn't like baking a cake where everything is super strict, this temperature, this ingredient list, this, that, and the other. It's more like I always kind of say it's more like making a stew or a soup where you have ingredients that you can kind of toy around with that then create the finished product. So your main four components are nitrogen, which is most of your food scraps. It's carbon, so we combine your food scraps with leaves and wood chips. It's air. Don't have to purchase that. And it's water. And we live in a very moist area, so like I don't really have to play with water too much either. Sometimes, in fact, we get too wet. So putting those four things together in certain ways, depending on how we're composting it, what you're trying to do is basically create a haven for microbes to come
Mhm.
eat. And when they eat, they heat things up and that breaks everything down. And once it cools down, that's when the worms come to the party and the worms kind of come and find the leftovers.
Mm.
They, their excrement is called a casting, which is highly, highly nutritious. Everyone loves worm poop. And it's really good for gardens and soil amendment in any way. So then you get this finished product that people call black gold. You can put it in a potted plant. You can put it in an orchard. You can put it in your backyard garden. You can put it in your flower beds. But it's meant to. I also make this analogy. It's the vitamins that create a living soil. It's not the steroid that's like a synthetic type of fertilizer that like shoots a bunch of stuff into
Right.
the
Not
soil.
like ammonia or
Right. It's gonna. The point is that you're bringing this in to amend your soil that your plant can then benefit from that full amendment, not just the compost itself. It's inoculating everything around it. It's retaining water. It's doing all of these things uh, that then make your plants thrive, and in a way that you don't have to put chemicals
So
in.
then, who do you provide the black gold? Do people purchase that from you, or do you?
So
Is that
yeah, as a subscriber with Carter's Compost, you actually get the black gold back. It's kind of like
wow?
this full circle um, type of concept. And so you're getting, I should say, if you want it back, you can get it back. So some people just want to compost and they don't need any of the finished compost back. But for those that do want some back, they get a certain amount back per year so that they can use it in their own gardens. And then then they don't have to do the shovel work in their own backyard. They just
Wow,
give, subscribe and then they get it back.
that is amazing. And so, if I were a restaurant owner, how does that work, or a business?
Same type of concept. They just usually get a bigger bin or maybe mini bins. So you'll get like a 32-gallon big rolly tote instead of a 5-gallon bucket. I have hotels or restaurants that might have 2 or 3 or 4 of those, and they fill them up every week, and I come in and pick those up. Um, and they don't tend to really want it back. They're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And so that's kind of more of a, again, kind of like the utility for them is like, we're doing the right thing. We have the budget to do this thing that's the right thing to do. And so yeah, I get to partner with them in that journey for them.
That's very cool. So what has the impact been to the community?
We I make in terms of growth, the first year in 6 months, we collected 6,000 pounds of food scraps, which is awesome, you know?
That's
Yes.
what, 3 tons?
Yep, exactly, 3 times. This year, and I haven't run the numbers to date, but prior to August, we had collected 60,000. So add a zero at the end, and that's just in 3 years. So the goal is to be able to collect more because as we're collecting more and keeping it local, it's less heavy trucks going really far to put things in a landfill that just creates, unwanted consequences, I guess is the best way to put it. By
Mhm.
keeping it local, we do everything in emission-free pickups. So it's either a bicycle pickup in the summer or an electric vehicle that we use for pickups for the heavier loads. And we're keeping it close, so it's not being shipped 100 miles away to go into a landfill. And then, of course, we're creating something that's a resource to go back. So the community impact has been just keeping everything clean and keeping everything
Right.
local and
So how
circular.
has does the community, are they aware of it? And how is the whole awareness of what you're doing? I know we're doing the podcast today, and I just love to be a part of like getting the word out. How do
Yeah,
you, how is the word getting out mostly?
mostly it's word of mouth. I call everyone who's signed up a compost champion, and they kind of recruit the compost curious. So if someone kind of says, "Hey, what's that yellow bucket out front of your house every day or every week?" Then
Mhm.
that compost curious person talks to the compost champion, and the champion says, "Hey, you should sign up for this. It's so
Yeah.
cool, and this is why." So most of it to date has been word of mouth. I do lots of events. I've been to farmers markets. I've spoken in certain community settings, and we do a lot with kids education, which isn't really necessarily like directly correlated to signups, but Carter's was started by a kid, so we want to
Sure.
keep that theme rolling. um, and that's how it's been, and we're about 110 customers right now, and that's including the businesses and like hotels and restaurants.
So if
um,
I wanted to sign up, how much does it cost?
If you're a resident, it's either $12 a month or $24 a month, depending if I'm picking up every week or every other week. And then
Huh.
for larger commercial accounts, it's scaling pricing based on how many bins you have. So like if
Sure.
you have more bins, the price per bin is lower. So that's a little bit of a different pricing model. But yeah, I mean,
Very
$12 a month.
for doing the right thing, it's less than dinner. I love it for a whole month. So
Right.
this is amazing. And so you've worked in the global supply chain, you've had international sales, you've been in planning roles. Now, how did your background prepare you for this? You worked like systems, processes, forecasting. Hey, do you use any of those skills and talents to run Carter's?
Every day. It's so funny because it all really overlaps so dramatically and quite beautifully. It's all of what I have done in my career thus far has had a systems and process tracking analysis type of theme to it. So supply chain management at its core is maybe more of a broad type of term, but over my career, I've maybe focused on certain parts of a supply chain, and being able to understand how the puzzle can go together. This is just it's a big puzzle, and I get to figure out how the pieces go together, and the pieces might change every once in a while. So it's like an evolving puzzle. But that is for me, it's where I thrive, and it's so much fun. Um,
What
it
kind
just keeps my brain going.
one of the things I think you also had to, and tell me about this, there's a lot of science behind what you're doing now.
Right.
I don't know, is it biology? Is it what kind of science? And did you have to take a crash course in this? What is this biodegradable science or something? What is it called?
Yeah, biology, yeah, like, what we're dealing with and what we might even say is, like, we're farming microbes. So you like a
Oh, the
biology term.
microbiology.
Exactly.
Okay.
Um, and so there are so many rabbit holes you can go down to when it comes to that aspect of things, as you can imagine, all the different types of microbes and what they
Sure.
do and why they do it and when they come to the party. Um, and I will be honest, when I started, I just had more of like the overarching understanding of like A plus B equals C type of
Right.
thing. But over the years, and I'll revert back to that like recipe that I talked about when you're making your stew, like you still need those 4 ingredients in the right balance. You can't have
Mhm.
something that's too salty or too sweet or too starchy, right? You have to have, and I always just use this soup analogy. But then when you're composting, you might have a smelly day and you're like, why is this smelly? Well, it's because my moisture is too high, my air is too low, my nitrogen's too, right? So there are reasons as to why things are happening. And over the years, I've learned that just by doing. Um,
Mhm.
but then I've also linked myself up with courses or people that can tell me even more about why all of that's
Wow.
happening.
I think it's
Yeah,
fascinating. It's
whole world.
so interesting to think about so like if I were a customer, what do you tell me? Can I put like coffee grounds in, but not this or not that? Do you kind of give us ideas of like what no go and what to do?
Exactly. So typically speaking, if it comes from the earth, it can go back into the earth,
So
right?
you
So,
can take coffee grounds?
oh yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yep. We love coffee grounds. It's like it gives the pie a little jolt of caffeine. Not literally, but uh
We all love it.
yeah, exactly.
We're
No,
all
we
addicted.
We like the caffeine or the coffee ground. We love like eggshells, any type of plant matter. And I always kind of joke, especially with the families, like, the cereal that the kids didn't eat or the
Right,
salad that went wilty before you could use it. Obviously, we
right,
want to reduce food waste first and eat what we can. But
right.
there's going to always be that need to
Oh,
have
sure.
composting because we can't eat banana peels and we can't,
Right.
there's certain things that you can't utilize in math and other ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, having all of that come then through a composting process is definitely
Mhm.
the goal long term. And
So
bring
when you get a client, a lot of this is, or a home or business, it's changing the habits of the
Mhm.
individuals. And I remember when we first started doing recycling, it was always like confusing. Like, where do I put this? Does this go? Does this not go? So,
Yep.
how do you and your team educate people on what goes into the bucket? And do you find people that recycle? Are they more um, like, attuned to this habit change?
I think that's probably a good I've not done the research to be able to confirm that, but I think that would be a fair assumption that my compost curious people are probably doing more recycling already and kind of naturally fit into the compost champion type of realm. Um, and the thing is there are always questions. Questions are great. I have a website that has everything listed, but I also provide that during like people sign up and they get education materials from me right away. But I'm also available via email or via text too. Like people will be like taking a picture of something like, what about this thing? And like that's yes. I mean, by asking those questions,
That
that
is so
conversation
nice
is
that you
happening.
do that. That is so customer
I mean,
oriented.
and it's an education moment that I can engage with somebody on. And it's like, hey, that's a fabulous question. And I don't think we have time even on this podcast to go down this rabbit hole, but like compostable wares like cups and plates and things like it's just that is it's a very confusing industry to understand. And
Mhm.
so trying to keep things as simple as possible is really the name of my game, and just say, does it look like this? Then it's a no. Like, could this have grown from the ground? If not, then no.
That's
And
a
keep it,
very good, yeah, kind of litmus test. So
yeah.
let's talk about challenges. You're so positive and you have such a big heart for the environment. Come on, let's talk about it. What are some of your biggest issues or challenges? Because you're scaling in a hyper local, sustainability driven business. You're lucky because Traverse City is a community known for being more environmentally conscious, in my opinion, than let's say your run of the mill um, up north town. And so that's in your favor. But tell us, what have you been challenged with?
I think that as as we grow, the challenges mostly just magnify in terms of like education. And if we're bringing this to 100 households now, what happens when we want to bring it to 1,000? Well, probably can't answer each individual text message. I'm going to need like a
Right.
helper to help with those types
Or
of
maybe
things.
an
And
AI.
who even knows by that point, right? But the point is
Have them
that
take a picture of it and you could have an
there
AI
are
give
there
you
are entrepreneurs that are creating AI apps that would say, take a picture and the app will tell you yes or no.
right.
So, I mean, who knows? Who knows what that's going to look like in the future? But I think it's just, how do I manage the growth in a way that makes the business sustainable and viable long term? Because I think there's such thing as growing too fast. There's also such thing as growing too slowly. And I want to make sure that it's happening, because it is just me running the business right now. I have people that help me with some of the composting actions, but the business itself, it's just me right now. And so making sure that I can grow it without biting off more than I can chew, but also without ruining composting for somebody, such that then we're taking a step backwards, and it's someone's like, "Oh, I had this terrible experience because this, that, or the other." Like, I want the experience to be positive with everybody. And so I do take as much time as I can to like focus on that as I'm rolling things out or as I'm growing. And that's a big challenge, being one person with two young children. And it's a challenge I kind of take on every day. And then just how can I grow and make this a business that has bigger impact?
Mhm.
I work with partnerships a lot, both like municipal and then farms and things like that. So just etching in those different types of relationships to be able to expand and grow.
Wonderful. Wow, that's the challenge to grow is interesting, and I really have a lot of opinions about that, and we'll talk offline because it's a good spot to be in, and it's a good time to do some reflection. And you did say you were going to take some time. You mentioned it the last time we met that you were going to do some, get real with some of this stuff. So
Yep.
I really applaud you for the taking the minute to get your strategies in alignment with your growth strategies.
Yeah.
To that point, before I jump to the next question, I wanted to give you an opportunity to let us all understand how you were able to um, receive and get that new vehicle. Because
Oh,
that's
yes.
because it's not on my list today, but I think it'd be remiss if we didn't talk about that.
The Peel Mobile is what we call our all electric pickup vehicle. We call it that because it has a big banana peel on the side, and it picks up peels of all sizes and shapes. So I always say we too. It is me, but we makes it sound more inclusive. In let's see, it must have been the beginning of 2025. So the beginning of this year, we received a grant that I had wrote last year about this time, uh, for from the department. Wow, I'm gonna botch this up a little bit, and I'm sorry, Eagle. Don't. don't tell anyone, but Eagle, so it's Department, yes, H-L-E,
environmental something.
Environment and Great Lakes. I should know this. This is terrible.
It's
Anyhow,
okay. We know what you mean.
Finance. So Eagle had a grant process that they were opening up for infrastructure, and I wrote a grant to be able to purchase an electric vehicle. It was important to me to be able to grow without growing my everyday carbon footprint as best as I can. And I know maybe long term that might not be as achievable, but in this stage of where we are, it is. And so I felt like it was important to try to get that grant, and we did. So I purchased the vehicle and received it in July. Had a little bit of tweaking done to it, got the big logo on the outside, thanks to another grant that we got locally here in Traverse City, and it was on the road August 1st. So it's been really amazing because it's beautiful. It's a driving little billboard, but it's also it makes life easier. It has a lift gate, it's less backbreaking. It makes everything just
Well,
easier.
it's all those things, but it's also affirmation. It's telling you what you're doing is meaningful and needed. And
Yes.
it's not just people giving you, a pat on the back. This is actually supporting you and telling you, hey, you're doing something that really counts. And congratulations for that. I really am happy that they acknowledged you that way. And with that, what do you see? What do you see the compost heading in the next few years? I know you're going to do some planning, but give us a sneak peek. What do you like if you had a magic wand? Do you
Ooh.
want a franchise, or do you want to? What is your goal?
If I had a magic wand, it would be um, just to be able to honestly, and I can't say exactly what format this is in necessarily. The point is that we want to have a broader impact on this region. And that means being able to collect and process more. So I have this beautiful new vehicle, but it's running on the road, I don't know, 10 hours a week, let's say. It means there's more hours that it could be collecting more food scraps, but I have to have somewhere to take it. And so then where do you take the food scraps? And right now, all of those places I'm taking them, they're pretty much maxed out. So we
Mm,
need space and equipment to be able to process all of this, and then get a second vehicle so that we're collecting even more. So really, that magic wand is enabling us to do more in this area and then branch out. Right now, we're really hyper focused on downtown Traverse City, but I really want to start to get into some of the townships and communities that are in the county and the surrounding counties and be able to impact and make composting accessible to more than just our population density. It's great that I can kind of prove the concept here in this kind of rural-ish population density, but being able to really expand it to have everybody that wants to have access to this, to be able to have access to this in one way, shape, or form. That might mean that it's not curbside. It might mean that there's drop offs located in different communities or in different like communal settings. Think about like town halls or places of worship or schools. Like if those places
oh
house
yeah,
drop offs where you're there every week anyway, you can bring your
like
scraps
bring it
there.
up there, right?
Exactly. So having more of that to be able to branch out so that more people can have access and education. I mean, my magic wand would really probably be education. How can we educate everybody? And
Let me
just
ask you, do you have peers in other communities?
yes. Oh yes. That is such a huge resource for me to be able to say, I'm not inventing a wheel here. The wheel's invented. I just need to customize that wheel to my region and my community. And those people that are doing this in other places, we're part of a industry group, so to speak, and
Mhm,
we all
mhm.
talk to each other all the time. And someone has some wacky idea, they're like, "Hey guys, what do you think about this?"
Right.
So that's actually called, it's through the Institute for Local Self Reliance, which is a national and international group. And they have a subgroup, I guess I'll call it, which is the Community Composter Coalition. And we have a conference every year, and we have a little forum we work together on. So I have peers in this industry and other areas that I model things after all of the time.
Awesome. I'm not surprised. You seem super resourceful. So let's just talk about advice. What advice, if we have the listeners here and who, like, for listeners who want to go ahead and get started in this community-based environmental or circular economy business in their own towns, what piece of real world advice would you wish someone would have given you early on?
I think, and this is maybe someone did give me this advice, and which is why I did it, is just do it. Like, just go and do it. This is community-based composting doesn't need to be like a financial burden necessarily. You can start pretty scrappy and you can just compost with your school or your church or whatever, right? Like you can start really small, which is what Carter's did. They started in their backyard with some kids picking up food scraps in buckets that were donated to them. So just do it. Go and do it, because you'll find that those connections will start to the embers will start to burn, and things are going to, and it catches fire, and that fire can really resonate with a lot of people, but you have to start somewhere. And if you don't start, then you're never going to know. So just do it. Just try
That's
it.
great advice. That's so
Yeah.
important.
And you're
So,
not starting big. I mean,
no.
that's the thing, is like you're starting small, maybe in a community kind of aspect, but it's going to prove the concept to you that maybe one day then someone says, hey, I've got this back 5 acres that I don't use and a tractor that you can lease from me. Boom. You've tried it. Now let's go big. And who knows? At that point, the world's your oyster.
Wow. Very good advice. Very, very good. Well, I'm very pleased to have you have been on the podcast today. And before we wrap this up, I wanted to give you an opportunity. Do you have any last words for me or the audience?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me, Rose. It's so fun to have met and connected over so many entrepreneurial things in our region too. And I know that all of the ideas that people have, sometimes one person might see this and just be like, you're right, I should just go do this. And like that's all I can really hope for, is that more people will either start composting in their backyard, or maybe they're gonna Google composting services in my area. Like let's just have a broader impact altogether, and really we can make this world a little bit better place. I firmly believe in leaving the world or the area or your corner of the world better than the way you found it. And if you can do that, then you've succeeded.
Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And everyone out there in podcast land, will you please like, share, and subscribe, and specifically share this episode with people you know that would resonate there in Traverse City. Maybe they are, someone that's really into recycling, and now you wake them up to this new opportunity of composting. And so with that, we'll see you next time on Bullish on Business. And thanks again, Megan. See everybody. Bye.